Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm doing a play and review, even though this is an early prototype, it should be pretty close to the final thing, of Emerald Echoes, which I think might be a follow-up to Emerald Flame. It's certainly from PostCurious, my favorite puzzle narrative game designer company, and it's got the word Emerald in it, so I can make some assumptions. Yeah, they sent me a prototype version, and I'm going to play through a little bit of the game. So they've got it divided in these like little sub-chapters, and there's 4 chapters of the game overall. So I figure I'll go through the narrative introduction, and then part 1.1, and then I'm going to take the rest of the play off camera, and I'll come back after I play through the entire thing and give some overall review thoughts. So if you don't want any spoilers, you can just kind of skip ahead. I mean, I'll still show some of the components and stuff, but besides that, no spoilers in the review. Or if you don't mind getting a little bit of a spoiler and seeing kind of a taste of the initial puzzles, stick with me here. And maybe you'll see Mike embarrassing himself trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So they got this little start here booklet that kind of explains you're going to be going through 1.1, then 1.2, then 1.3. And within each of them, you're going to have this little hint sheet that you can slowly pull out that is structured as a conversation between like the characters in this little narrative story. Which is very interesting, because if you've seen any of my other PostCurious reviews, one of my absolute favorite things about them is their amazing hint system, which is all online on their website for their previous games. And actually, most of the games would have kind of online components in general. Not everyone, but a lot of them. And this one, I guess they've gotten some feedback, or I don't know, just wanted to try something different. This one has no online component. You don't need to look up anything online. Like I just said, the hint system is entirely kind of within these envelopes. So that's, I don't know what to say about that yet, because I haven't played it yet. But my first impression is, I like the way you were doing it before. You had the best hint system in the business. And now you've got a different hint system. I'm not sure how to feel about that. But let's dig into the narrative introduction in 1.0, have Mike do some fun reading, and then we'll see if I can solve some puzzles. All right, here's our introduction little conversation. Hey, what's this box you left on my desk?
Sorry, my bad. It's something I found in the archives behind a shelf. Was on my way to ask the big guy about it when my coffee spilled, so I had to set it down. I'll pick it up at lunch. Just put it anywhere.
You were carrying a box of centuries-old documents and coffee at the same time?
Oof, yeah, sorry? Did they make it out okay?
Looks like there's just a coffee stain on the outside. Documents are intact.
Thanks, I was about to have a heart attack. I do know how to spell heart.
I think I actually know what these documents are. The handwriting looks familiar. Don't pick up yet. Give me a few hours.
Aye, Captain. I don't know why I said that.
Hey, it's me. Let's stick to personal numbers on this. Confirm receipt.
Confirmed? Wow, I didn't know you had my number. What did you find?
I didn't. Got it from Mandy. Oh, is this a different character? We should keep this off the books. I don't think we're supposed to know about this box. See attachment. The handwriting matches. The Emerald Flame exhibit, which opened in February, focuses on the exploits of a 15th century alchemist named Marquita, who, like many other alchemists of the time, sought to create the elixir of life. Her research was seemingly funded by a powerful figure in the church, who intended to consume the elixir himself. As she conducted her research, she grew increasingly disenchanted with her patron, believing his quest for immortality to be incompatible with the morals he taught. What's fascinating about the exhibit is the surprising recipient of Marquetta's letter, not her ecclesiastical patron, but his illegitimate daughter, Hannah. The nature of the relationship between the two women is unknown, but their correspondence is as tender as it is sly. Letters studded with symbols and codes indicating some secret understanding between them. However, the correspondence abruptly ends when Hannah severs all contact, following her father's abrupt death. Our understanding is that Marquetta had begun to stall for time, explained Museum Director Graham Portnick. When her patron summoned her, likely not very gently, she was forced to prepare the elixir in front of him. He is believed to have died almost immediately after. Hannah blamed Marquetta for his death.
Wow, so these are Hannah and Marquetta's documents? That's really cool, but why can't we tell anyone?
Did you read the paper our esteemed employer wrote back then, about how a female alchemist of the period could never have been taken seriously?
Oh, that article, yikes.
I'm guessing it's not an accident this part of the story got lost in the archives.
So what do we do? This is historic. We can't just put it back in hiding.
All right, so yeah, this is definitely a sequel or side story to Emerald Flame. Now, I have not played that one in a while. I think I played it earlier this year or last year, but I vaguely remember some of the stuff they're talking about. All right, so we got some letters before we actually get to the real riddle. So M is Marquetta, I guess. I dreamt about you last night. You came to me with your soft dark hair pulled back and a light in your eyes, and you told me you would free me from my father. You laid your hand on mine, a benediction, and I closed my eyes, feeling my throat tighten. Before you, I had not known I needed to be freed. In my dream, you drew me outside and we walked along the riverbank. You spoke to me of things I'd never imagined. The trade routes you followed, the merchants you befriended, all the while you strode briskly like a man and I followed you eagerly, marveling at the world that seemed yours for the taking. And then I awoke and remembered everything that has come to pass.
You reached inside the quiet closet of my heart and opened me up to the world. We whispered vows to each other in the meadow, tried wildflowers like rings around our fingers, and then you killed my father. I went to the cathedral to pray today. I remember my father taking me there as a child. I would kneel on hard tile, clasping my hands, trying to be the image of filial piety. He would leave me and ascend to his place on the dais, and I would study him, his lips as he murmured in Latin, his hands as he crossed himself, the eyes of his parishioners filled with worship. Everything he touched was consecrated. He was like the sun to me, and I was content to bask in his light. Even years later, when he stood at the head of the crowd, casting precious books into the fire, I could not bring myself to feel as you felt. You spoke urgently to me of his hunger for power, power that no single man should wield, and I pretended to agree with you. But when I turned over the notion of this power in my heart, I secretly felt not fear, but pride. Deep within, I still thought with a child's mind and felt with a child's heart. I suppose that was our undoing. Now I live a quiet life in the abbey. I pray and copy liturgical texts and observe the customary fasts, and the abbess smiles that I am living the life my father would have wanted. And on a few rare nights, when my heart fills with words I dare not speak, I walk alone in the orchard and write these letters to a lover who will never read them. A lover I spurned in loyalty to a man who wished to become a god. Wherever you are, Em, I hope you understand. I am no longer a child. I would do things differently now. My hand trembles as I write this. A peasant girl came to me today with a note which she asked me to read to her. It was a small scrap, unsigned, containing instructions for a soothing poultice. It was written in your hand. I could hear nothing but my own breath. Dimly I recall asking her who had given her the note. Her voice came to me as if from a distance. I was on my feet then, following her to the manservant who had desired the poultice for his master, questioning him urgently until, stammering with alarm, for what did a nun wish to know of such things, he at last told me of the great alchemist of the north. Speaker of 5 tongues, friend of 7 guilds, she had established a laboratory deep in Scandinavia, hidden from those who would use her arts to grasp her power. In her wisdom, she used her craft to conceal the path to her workshop. Only the poor and the sick were permitted to know the way. Her name he did not know, but her manner he did, quick-tempered, dark-haired, eternally unafraid. And here, Em, I confounded the man, for I wept. I wept for your absence. I wept for the years lost. And, in truth, some part of me wept for the life I knew I must leave behind. For I must go. I must break the vows I made before God and set aside the veil. The life of the Abbey is no longer mine, if it ever was. I was only half alive before you came to me and called my name, and I will be only half alive if I stay, knowing where you are. Marquetta, I am coming.
Well, it is fun. So it's like a sequel where we get to see those characters maybe brought together in history. Anyway, so that was the intro. If you skipped the mic reading portion, here you go. So again, we've got clues over here. Oh, we've got more mic reading. And then we'll get to these actual things and try to figure out which one we're supposed to solve first. All right, so here probably begin the clues. M. One day soon I will tell you of these last months, of my departure from the Abbey in the dead of night, of my escape from the city of my birth, hidden under the blankets of a merchant's cart. I will tell you of that first night, lying awake in my tent, bruised and aching from travel, how the silence sang and the darkness held forth, every sensation turned, heightened, and holy. And I will tell you of the following morning, with trembling hands, I at last removed the wimple that has kept me safe from the eyes of men, for no longer could I invoke the protection of the church. I will tell you of my first drink from a clear stream, of the goat's meat we seared over an open fire, of the calluses that hardened my heels and the mud that soaked my skirts. I will describe the merchant's growing respect as I studied his native tongue, practicing faithfully so that I might barter for passage, and of his manservant's corresponding respect as I lifted the heavy bolts of cloth he struggled to carry. I will tell you of the smell of the trading ports of Lubeck, the size of a ship's billowing mast, the way my heart sang even as I parted from my companions. I will tell you of the sailors' laughter as I retched over a roiling sea. Then, too, of their rough paternal approval as they instructed me in knot tying, my fingers following theirs on salt-swollen ropes. I will tell you about the goodness I have encountered in this world, for it has changed me, Marquetta, more so than the hardening of my palms and the coarsening of my skin. But these things should not be conveyed by letter. I have crossed the Baltic Sea now. My journey is almost over. Soon I will reach Lake Vatern, and in the event that you have received my note, I will find you waiting for me. If not, I will find your workshop, for I am poor and humble, O great alchemist, and permitted to know the way. Then I will say to you all that I wish, and at last all the intervening years between us will fall away. Strange to think on my confidence only a few days ago, for I was certain then of your heart, certain that despite the years that divided us, you thought of me as often as I thought of you. I half believed that you could sense my return as the steed senses the approaching storm, that you'd be waiting for me, arms outstretched. Now I sit at the doorstep of your workshop, humbled. The door is locked, the place is long abandoned.
The farm folks say you have been missing for months. You told them nothing before you disappeared, left no instructions or letter. Though you lived alongside them for years, they could scarcely say whether you had a family, whether you had been married, whether you had loved. You were an enigma and allowed few into your confidence. I think of the openness of your face, the ease of your laughter, and I half wonder if I have found the correct alchemist after all. Yet I can see your craftsmanship in this place. Tracing my fingers along the door's engraved tiles, I see that they can be rearranged. All but the center tile can be moved. It is a door that could only have been crafted by you, a threshold locked by art. Is it foolishness to think that you designed this for me? And yet I feel I have a sense of how to open it, a methodical reordering. I stand at the brink of understanding, of you, of your ways, of where you have gone. I must open the door and pass through. All right, so I guess we'll put the Rube Goldberg aside and the goods and all this and just focus on the puzzle. So we have exactly enough pieces to complete the puzzle. It seems like it would be too simple just to have it be normal. I mean, let's try for a normal thing. Wait, do these even? Okay, never mind. I was gonna say like I could just put it together normally, but doesn't seem like everything will connect. Like, look, there is nothing that has the other side of this that I can see. Okay, but there are. I'm seeing these symbols here, which could correspond to the 8. So let's try for that. Okay, so fishing would be a fisherman. Wooden spoon would be probably the cook. Scales would be. Okay, let's pause for that one. Potion would be maybe like medicine for the sickness here. And then a feather could be like a feather for writing, maybe. And okay, cross for this kind of monkey dude. Monk hyphen Y. He is not a primate. Ladder to get up on the broken roof. Hammer to work as a blacksmith. Okay, and then market for like the scales. Okay, so what? So it's letters, right? They seem to be letters. Oh, E try ed. E try ed. Nen. Okay. Okay, that's a G. That's an R. Grand. Oh, there's an 8. Jeez, there's a lot of letters. Okay. Entry granted. Hey, there we go. So how the hints work is you can pull them out and they're like a conversation, and it's supposed to also tell me if I'm right. That was a quick puzzle, but I don't want to go any farther than this, so I don't spoil anymore. Okay, so it looks like... Oh, wait, what was my voice for blue? Okay, so it looks like there were 9 carved tiles in the door, but only 8 of them could be rearranged. Marquetta must have called in some major favors with the carpentry guilds. I know, the carvings are so beautiful. Do you think the icons outside the 3x3 grid could have something to do with the images in the tiles? Like, do they match somehow? Okay, I'm digging this. I can see how they're, like, slowly, portioning out the hints. Yeah, I think maybe. There's something off about the people and the carvings, though. Some of them are missing something. Oh, wait a second. What are they missing? Oh, stupid Mike. Look. I didn't even see this. The blacksmith doesn't have his hammer. Look, he's hammering with nothing. The fisherman doesn't have his hook. I wouldn't know that. She looks like she's tasting or stirring, but she doesn't have a spoon. I guess they're missing the scales. They need medicine because they're sick. Oh, this guy has the ink well, but doesn't have the pen. The cross is missing. I don't know about that. Oh, and this guy needs a ladder. Okay, so cool. I kind of get that. It has to be intentional. I think she wanted people to match each person on a tile with their missing item. Like the blacksmith tile should go next to the hammer. Bingo. Okay, so top to bottom, left to right, I've got fishing boat, kitchen, fish market, blacksmith, scythe guy in the middle, sick bed, looking at the roof, monk, writer. Not sure what to do next at this point where the door should swing open. I think there would be some kind of confirmation you'd solved it correctly. Let's take a step back and look at all the tiles in place, see if we notice anything. I got it. Some of the lightest and darkest areas between the tiles form letters. See the wall on the right side of the fishing boat? It combines with the shelves in the kitchen to make an E. Ah, you're so good at this. I see it all now. Altogether it says, entry granted. Okay, and I think that's my pass to get to the next envelope. But we're going to stop there because I don't like to just spoil these games when the entire game is the puzzle. That's just my personal preferences for content creation. But I'm going to move on to 1.2. Might even get my kids to help me with this. That first one makes me think they
could be obliged to help their dad and maybe be successful. But we'll see you in a second for you all, and probably in multiple days of trying to get my family to play puzzles for me when I get to my actual review of the overall experience. So bye, see you in a little bit. All right, everybody, here I am. I'm back after finishing the entire game. And actually, I should say that I finished it with my wife. So I went back and replayed through what I already showed you if you watched that little play portion. And we did the entire thing together, which, might color my opinion a little bit. Because whenever I get to play something with my wife, which is a kind of rare occurrence, it does raise in my estimation a bit. But let's talk through everything that I saw with, again, basically no spoilers besides just showing you what is in the initial envelope you open. So there are 4 of these big envelopes, each with a bunch of stuff in it. And just to kind of give you an idea of how long the game is, the first envelope has, 5 main puzzles. The blue ones are like little intro and outro text things. So you have 5 main puzzles. Envelope 2 was about the same. And then envelope 3 and 4 are drastically shorter. Envelope 3 has just 2 main puzzles, and envelope 4 has kind of like 1 main puzzle with a 2-parter. So I would say part 3 and 4 put together are probably still a little shorter than part 1 by itself or part 2 by itself. I think the entire game, we were stumped a few times. We weren't always working at our fastest. It was probably 4 hours if I put everything together, but I didn't really keep track, so it's hard to say. But that's the basic idea about the content. So what did I actually think of it? Well, first, let's focus on maybe my favorite thing about the game, which is the story. So if you watched a little bit of the video, you knew that there's like kind of this epistolary sort of like letter-based story going on, or like diary entries. It's from a few different characters' perspectives, which is kind of interesting. And this main storyline that you're kind of looking at in the past was amazing. Totally worked for me. I would put it up there. PostCurious is already my favorite like narrative puzzle mystery company. And I would say this is their best narrative work besides maybe Light in the Mist, which just goes a little deeper and just has more stuff to discover. But this one's a little bit more accessible than Light in the Mist because it is told in a more linear fashion. And it got to me. Like, I was literally crying at the end. I won't say whether those had happy or sad tears. But yes, I was very emotionally invested in this like main storyline. Thought that was a complete home run. Love that. There's also this side story told through kind of back and forth text messages about these 2 researchers in the modern era. And they kind of have their own story going on, sort of this parallel story. It's much less in detail and depth than this one. But they kind of have a fun story too, and they have fun characterizations too. So I enjoyed this one. Not as much as that, but you kind of get 2 fun stories for the price of 1. So that worked out well for me. I thought narratively this game was a complete slam dunk. If you've liked other PostCurious games like, Morrison Game Factory, Light in the Mist, Emerald Flame, any of those, this one is awesome. Also, I will say that it is a sequel to Emerald Flame. I had hinted it might be, and it 100% is. Kind of like wraps up some loose ends from that one. And my wife did not play any of Emerald Flame, and she had zero problem getting into the story of this. So I just want to put it out there. I do not think you need any experience with Emerald Flame to play Emerald Echoes. I think you can still enjoy the narrative fully. As for the puzzle design, I thought it was the standard PostCurious solid stuff. They had fun manipulatives, some really cool and impressive kind of like physical objects that you get to play with. Some things being spatial, some things being mathematical or scientific. Really cool. I thought they were good. There was only one puzzle, and this happened it might have been Emerald Flame as well. There was like one puzzle, I won't spoil anything, but I was like putting things on top of each other. And my wife and I 100% understood what we were supposed to be doing. Like, we looked at the hints and they verified that everything we were doing was correct. And we just could not get things to line up. And that happened like once before with a similar kind of puzzle where we were like sort of like aligning lines with each other. And it just didn't like work physically. I don't know if that's because this is a pre-production kind of prototype of the game, or if we were just like slightly off in some way. But that was the only time we were truly frustrated, where we like totally understood what we were supposed to do. And the game just like was not working with us to do it. But that was one main puzzle out of 18 or something. So not that big a deal. The rest of the puzzles were really enjoyable. One small note though, because this does not have online functionality, at least not in the version that they sent me, they made every single solution a word, and you would just go through this little like analysis, hint kind of conversation between the 2 researchers, and you would slowly pull it out and discover, if your thought process went along their thought process, you can correct any errors. We'll talk about the hint system in a second. And then at the end, they would be like, hey, here's the word we got. And you just see if you got the same word. So, just one small note about that for the puzzle design. This was also the case in The Light and the Mist, which was another one that had like no online component, and all the answers were like structured as words that you would check. It does sometimes feel like it slightly limits the puzzle design because, your answer can't end up with a number. Your answer can't end up with a, like, I don't know, longitude and latitude. Instead, you have to always get to a word. And sometimes you can kind of see the puzzles. They'll get you to one thing and then you got to jump through one more hoop to like turn it into letters to get the word you need. So because they went fully offline for this one, which I don't mind at all. I like, I don't usually love the puzzle games where I have to like be going on the internet and stuff, although some people have fun with that. I thought the puzzle still did a really good job, but just something to note. What else? Let's talk about the hint system. So I've said in the past that PostCurious' online hint system is the best in the business. I love it. You can slowly get little tips one at a time, and then you can check your answer without spoiling anything. This actually works surprisingly well, the analysis system they have here, for an offline option. So I would say this is now the best offline hint system I've ever seen. So PostCurious is still doing great work. But yeah, so like I said, you kind of follow, I won't go too far here in case you didn't watch the beginning, but you follow along with their conversation. And it kind of like sometimes fills in their character and has them saying fun things. Now, sometimes it's just like them literally talking through what you already know, so you can kind of skim it. But yeah, you get to see like step by step if you were on the right thought process. And the nice thing about this is if you totally went left and you think you found an answer, but it's totally wrong, you'll very quickly realize, like, whoops, we didn't get that. And then also, if you just like don't know how to start, which happened to us several times, especially in the final 2 envelopes, you can just read like the first few things and they'll be like, hey, maybe we should try doing something like this. And that was always enough for us to get going and figure out the full thing ourselves. So great hint system. You're not everyone's going to love having to like read it for the narrative like kind of elements, but I thought that was fun. But it still works as an offline option. Maybe not quite as amazingly as their online hint systems in the past, but because it's all analog, I think it's still really impressive. And yeah, I think that's about it for this one. I loved it. My wife loved it. Very moving for us. Like I said, in the narrative, the puzzles were fun. Yes, there were moments of frustration, but the hint system got us through them. So if you've liked PostCurious games in the past, I would rank this among their best. Like maybe not quite to Light in the Mist level, but this might be my favorite besides Light in the Mist. I would definitely put it above Emerald Flame. I would definitely, it might be similar to Morrison Game Factory because that was another one of their most successful ones recently. I put it above the Lost Ministry, whatever that one was called. The Viking one. I'm forgetting all the names. I've played so many of these now. But yeah, if you've liked their previous work, this is 100% in the right wheelhouse. It's among their best. I loved it. And if you haven't played a PostCurious game before, again, you don't need to play Emerald Flame. It's not going to really affect your enjoyment. If you like puzzles, if you like riddles, if you like escape rooms, and you want some narrative reading that's very emotionally effective to go along with it, this is one of the best pairings of narrative and puzzles you're going to find out there. So that is Emerald Echoes. I love it. Go check out the crowdfunding page, and yeah, you can see if you're interested. But thanks for watching, everybody, and a special thank you to our biggest Patreon supporters, Jay William F., Pedro Lucas, Nick Skeen, Miles, Wayne Scott, Steve Ran, and KCW. We'll see you at the next stop.